King Lear, The Role of the Fool, Part 2, by Cameron Wilson. As mentioned in Part 1, the Fool in King Lear uses humor and wit to act as a sort of lightning rod for Lear, grounding him as he delves deeper into insanity. Given the Fool's tendency to use humor and criticism to tame Lear, he might ironically be considered the play's truest figure, even in spite of his often slapstick comedy. Cumulatively, the tendency of the Fool in King Lear to communicate truth through humor allows him to become a key character in the play. King Lear as a whole seems to boil down to the idea that Lear, with his often petty and self-righteous disposition, ultimately sows the seeds of his own demise. In other words, Lear ignores the advice of the Fool. Throughout this process, the Fool contributes to the development of this central theme by providing feedback to the king in regard to his self-serving actions with the use of wit and humor, even though it is almost always ignored. For instance, when the Fool enters the play in the middle of the first act, he says to Kent of Lear, "This fellow has banished 2 on's daughters, and did the third a blessing against his will. If thou follow him, thou must needs wear my coxcomb." Act 1, Scene 4, lines 88 through 91. Essentially, the Fool asserts, using humor, that Lear is a fool for dividing the kingdom as he did, and that Kent will be a fool as well if he continues to follow Lear. Later in Act 1, the Fool asserts that a snail has a house to put his head in, not to give it away to his daughters and leave his horns without a case. Act 1, Scene 5, lines 25 through 26. The Fool uses his joke about a snail's home to convince Lear that his course of action was wrong. Even so, Lear continues down his original course, ignoring the Fool's wisdom. In the third act of King Lear, the Fool hints at Edgar's disguise to Lear, saying, "Prithee, nuncle, tell me whether a madman be a gentleman or a yeoman." Act 3, Scene 6, lines 8 through 9. The Fool is ignored, yet again. As a result of the central idea of Lear's self-righteousness, Lear does not give any validity to the claims of the Fool, and is spurned as a result. The Fool does not appear in the play past the third act. Reasons for this are speculative, but the play seems to insinuate that this is because the Fool has been hanged. This itself is not pertinent, but the true significance of the Fool's disappearance is marked by Lear's reaction. As Mark Burge says in his essay titled, "My Poor Fool is Hanged," the Fool's disappearance leads to a shift toward Lear's madness and allows him to deny the reality of his imprisonment. Burge.